A very warm welcome to all the CA Foundation students. Exams are around the corner and every student has the same doubt. Ma'am, how to write the answers? We don't have enough confidence. Please take writing practice sessions. So here I am with important questions from every unit of law. So the plan is such that in today's session, I'm just going to give you an introduction of how we are going to go about these sessions. We are going to discuss the most important questions from Unit 1 and 2 of Contract Act. That is today's agenda. So once you know how we are going to discuss, in the next lecture, you can first revise those chapters and then watch these revision sessions. All right. So in today's session, I'm only going to discuss Unit 1 and 2 of the Indian Contract Act. I will show you how to write the answers, how to frame the answers, how much to write, what is the expectation of the examiner, everything I will train you. From the next session, I will increase the number of chapters. So in today's session, we have 1 and 2, but in tomorrow's session, I'm going to upload videos for Unit 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm going to upload more and more videos, maybe 2 videos in a day, so that you are ready with all the questions well before the exam. All right. So now your mock tests are also over. I was waiting for the ICA mock test to get over, and then we start again with our last revision with the most important concepts and the most important questions from every unit. And I'm telling you, students, this is what is going to be asked in the exam. And I will also tell you the common mistakes that you are making and why you are not able to frame your own answers. So watch this video till the end because we are going to discuss all the important concepts for exam. So let us first address as to why students are not able to frame their own answers. Because the main thing is that you only know the ultimate answer to that question. Like if I give you a question, you know what is the ultimate answer, but you don't know how to frame the entire answer. What is the theory which is expected? I am going to train you in these sessions on how to create the answers. Okay. Now, in my earlier sessions, I had given this format, but in case you missed it, so the format which you need to follow is you will divide your answer into 4 parts. The first part, that is provision. So you will give the heading. Now let's see that this is your answer sheet. Okay. In your answer sheet, you will write question 1. And maybe this is the sub question is A. You will write 1A. And let's say this is the margin. Okay. So then you will write provisions. Underline it. And from the next line, you will start explaining the provisions. After writing all the provisions, you will leave a line. And then from the next line, you will write B. That is facts of the case. You will explain the facts in your own words. Marks are not allotted for this, but this is just paper presentation. Then C, again leave a line. After that, you will write analysis and ultimately conclusion. So you will divide your answer into 4 parts. Now, in provisions, you will write the section numbers. Okay, section number. Name of case law, if any. And you will explain only and only theory. In facts of the case, you will explain the fact in your own words. You will mention facts in your own words. Don't copy the question. Explain the facts in your own words. And very briefly, okay? Brief. Then in analysis, you will mention the solution. Sometimes you may have to repeat, okay? You may have to repeat the provisions. You may have to repeat the facts. But you are ultimately arriving at the solution. And you will arrive at the solution. And in conclusion, you will start your conclusion by thus, therefore, Hence, it is so concluded from the above, we conclude that. Okay. Now, how to know what to write in the solution? I will explain how to find what is to be written in conclusion part. Okay. So this is how you will divide your answer. You will write provisions, facts, analysis, and conclude. All right. Now let us go through the first question that I have decided to be discussed in today's session. Now this is, you must be wondering, ma'am, which book is this? So this is my law compiler for CA Foundation. Okay. Now a compiler is a compilation of all the past exam questions, study material, RTP, MTP questions arranged unit wise. So if you see, we have divided the entire act into different units. Now all the questions are arranged unit wise. Now it is not just copy pasting of what is given by the ICAI answer, suggested answer. We have divided all the answers into 4 steps. So every answer will be in a proper format. So you have provisions, facts, analysis, and conclude. If you feel that you don't want to wait for the hard copy to come to your location, you can also purchase a soft copy. Links are in the description. The soft copy is also available of the compiler. I'm telling you students, 100% all questions will be from this book only. So all the answers, if you see, they are in the 4-step format: provisions, facts, analysis, and conclude. Again, we have provisions, name of the case law, facts, analysis, and conclusion. So this compiler will give you a clear idea of what is to be written, how much is to be written, what to write in provisions, what to write in analysis, conclusion, etc. Okay. So this is a detailed book which will help you in deciding how to frame the answer. Now, the first question that I have selected today is from my compiler. I am going to discuss all the questions from this book only because it has all the possible questions that can be asked in your exam. So this is the question which I have selected today. Now, there are basically 3 concepts which I want to highlight in today's session. If a question is asked in your exam from Unit 1, it will basically be on these 3 concepts. Okay, so let us now also highlight that which are the 3 most important concepts from Unit 1. So your Unit 1 is basically introduction, essential elements of a valid contract, offer, acceptance, etc. So there are 3 concepts on which questions are generally asked. The first concept is offer and invitation to offer. The second concept, which is mostly asked in the exam, it is acceptance must be communicated either by the offeree or an authorized person. Okay. And the third concept, question 9. Yes. There are 2 or 3 small concepts which can be asked. One is implied contract. It can be asked on general offer. And lastly, it can be also asked that that offer must be properly communicated. Okay. So these are the 3 concepts on which questions are generally asked in your exam. Now let us discuss question 6, which I have selected for today's session. So we have question 6. Very frequently asked in the exam. There is a case law which you need to, write the facts in the exam. Miss Shakuntala puts an application to be a teacher in a school. She was appointed by the trust of the school. A friend who works in the same school informs her about the appointment informally. Now, wait, let us read the question, and I will also highlight how to decide which section is to be applied. Now, sometimes students get confused that, ma'am, we don't understand whether the question is from Contract Act, whether we should apply this particular provision or that provision, or we are not able to understand which provision to be applied. Wait, I will also show you how to find hints in the question. So, Miss Shakuntala puts an application. She was appointed by the trust of the school. A friend who works in the same school informs her about the appointment informally. But later, due to some internal reasons, her appointment was cancelled. Can Miss Shakuntala claim for damages? Now, Shakuntala puts an application in the school. She is putting an application. This is an offer. She was appointed, but her friend who works in the same school informs about her appointment informally. It means the acceptance is not communicated. Either by offeree or authorized person. So it is not communicated. See, offer can be accepted by the person to whom the offer is made, but it can be communicated either by the offeree or authorized person. So we are talking about communication of acceptance. We are not talking about who can accept the offer. Offer can be accepted only by the person to whom it is made. Okay, and or if it is a general offer, it can be accepted only by the person who has knowledge of the offer. But we are talking about communication. Communication can be either by the offeree or authorized person. Now, in this case, she is informing informally. The acceptance is not communicated either by the offeree or authorized person. So, will the acceptance be valid? No, it's not valid acceptance. Now, I am able to frame these points while reading the question itself. Yes. So, in this case, due to some internal reasons or appointment of cancel, can she claim for damage? Now, let's start framing the answer. I already have 3 points. Now, let me frame the entire answer around these 3 points. Now, the first thing that I need to write over here is provisions. Okay, so, this is writing practice. First, understand how you are supposed to write and practice, and then you can write the answer on your own. So, this is provision. What will you write in provisions? In this case, the first. Now, I am not writing the entire answer. I am only writing the pointers which you will elaborate. So, in this case, what will you write in provisions? Acceptance must be communicated either by offeree or an authorized person. Here you will also explain Powell versus Lee because the question is based entirely on the case law. See, normally the institute is happy with just the name of the case law. But here, because it is direct conversion of the case law into a question, you will have to explain the question, the case law also. So mention the facts of the case, mention the judgment. Explain the facts of the case and judgment in brief. Don't write stories. Just explain it briefly. Okay. So provisions, you will write acceptance must be communicated either by the offeree or an authorized person, and you will explain the case law Powell versus Lee. I don't think that you need to write more over here because writing the case law itself will, create half a page of provisions. Now let's see what they have written. Acceptance is complete only when it is communicated to the offerer. Okay, so acceptance must be communicated by the offeree himself or by the person who has the authority to accept. So I just rephrased it either by the offeree or authorized person. It may be communicated either by words or action. So here they have written who can communicate and how it can be communicated. Now, I missed this point, so I highlighted that in red because I missed this point. Then they have explained the case law, Powell versus. So this is the explanation of that case law. Did you notice that they have not explained anything other than these points? Who can communicate the acceptance and how it can be communicated either by words or action. Now, if in the exam you don't write this, I think it is not going to affect your answer. So it is perfectly all right. Okay? But yes, now this is just practice ground. So here we have realized that I did not write this point. So I have highlighted that in red. Now, how to use my compiler? I always tell my students it is not necessary that you write and practice each and every answer. Now, see, I have given you a left margin over here. Okay. So I have given you a left column. Now, what I tell my students is that you hide the answer. And over here, you will write the provisions. Like, see this. I will include these points that acceptance must be communicated either by the offeree or any authorized person. Then we have to explain. Now, okay, I also realized, Powell versus Lee. And then we will write the facts of the case. Okay, so you have to actually write it. Now, when you compare this with the answer, I missed this. Okay, I missed this. So what I do is I write over here, it can be communicated either by words or action. I missed this point, so I write it in red. Okay, I write this in red. This will always help me to, even while revision, I will realize that, okay, I missed this point. I did not write this point, so I need to pay attention to this. But it's just highlighting the mistake so that next time we don't make that same mistake. Now, then when you compare it, I have included this point, I have included this point, this I missed, so I wrote it in red. Now, let's see what we need to write in facts. Facts, you will just explain the question in your own words. And Ms. Shakuntala applied for the post of teacher. Her friend working informed her about the appointment. Shakuntala's appointment was subsequently cancelled and she claimed for damages. Now, in analysis, you need to actually provide the solution. Now, what do you think? Will Ms. Shakuntala be able to claim damages? No. Why no? Because the acceptance was given neither by the school, the trust, nor by an authorized person. See, this word actually gives us a hint. Okay, it was informed informally. This actually gives me a hint that it was informed by a person who is not authorized to inform. So over here, what will you write in the analysis part? In analysis, I will write that the communication was, so Ms. Shakuntala cannot claim damages. Why? Give reason also. As the acceptance was not communicated either by the trust, was not communicated either by trust or an authorized person. So you can write over here that the friend was not authorized. Okay, she communicated this informally. Therefore, the acceptance is not valid. Alright. So over here, the friend did not have the authority. Let's highlight the words. Did not have the authority to inform Shakuntala about the appointment. The school authorities never put the acceptance in the course of transmission. If you don't write this, it is okay. School authorities never put it in the course of transmission because this talks about communication. So they never put it in the course of transmission. So it was communicated neither by the school or the trust that is written in the question. It was communicated neither by the school authorities nor by the authorized person. Her information from a third person will not form part of contract, but instead of writing this, what I wrote was that the acceptance is not valid. So Ms. Shakuntala cannot claim. Now, I had also informed you how to decide what is to be written in conclusion. So see over here. The last part of the question will always give you a hint of what is to be written in conclusion. See this last part. Can Ms. Shakuntala claim for damages? This is to be answered in conclusion part. So what will you write in conclusion? Ms. Shakuntala cannot claim damages. Write the reason also. Why? As the acceptance was communicated neither by the school nor an authorized person. This is actually a repetition, but it is okay. So what did we try to answer over here? Can Miss Shakuntala claim damages? Your answer will be no, she cannot claim damages. So this is how. See, in every question, they will ask you something in the end. And this is to be answered in conclude. So I hope you understood how to frame the answer. Now do one thing. You go through this question, okay, and try to write the answer as provisions, facts, analysis, conclusion. Then check your answer with this model answer. Whatever you have missed, write it in red. This is writing practice. Don't expect me to write the entire answer for you. You know now how to write this. Try framing it. Let's discuss one more question. The next question which I have decided is question 9. Okay. X's brother. Let's read the question and try to frame it. See, this is how I discuss the question and answers in my regular lectures also. So if you want to purchase this compiler, it comes with question answer discussion. I have discussed each and every question from the compiler. Okay. So that option is also available. While placing the order, you can select whether you want to buy only the compiler or you want to buy the compiler with the discussion. So you can all go, so because I have discussed how to write the answer, how to frame the answer, the pointers. Sometimes this is not required. Sometimes you must write this. What are the key words to be written in the answer? Everything is explained in those discussion videos. I have also highlighted the sentences which should be present in your answer if you want to get marks. All that you will find in the answer. X's brother runs away from the house. Y, who is an employee of X, offers to search for the brother and he goes out for this purpose. In the absence of Y, X offers a reward of 500 to anyone who finds the brother or gives a clue. Okay. So Y gets the brother back to X in ignorance. Okay, now in ignorance of the offer for reward. I did not discuss this question actually because it is based on which case law? Tell me. Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat. Yes, immediately by reading this question, you should be able to understand that this is based on the case law Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat. X's brother runs away from the house. Y, who was an employee there also, we send the Munim in search of the missing nephew. Now, how to frame the answer? Let's hide this. How to frame the answer? What will you write? Yes, offer can be accepted only when the person is aware of the offer. Yes. So, offer must be properly communicated. Acceptance in ignorance of the offer is not valid acceptance. Then you will explain the case law Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat. Okay. Let's see if they have written this or not. A person cannot accept the offer so long as he is unaware of its existence. Unless the offer is properly communicated, there can be no acceptance. Acceptance in ignorance of the offer is a nullity. It does not create any legal right or obligation. Case law Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat, you need to explain because the question is based directly on the case law. I may have not written the provisions as it is, but I have covered all the provisions. Let's check. A person cannot accept if he is unaware. So often must be properly communicated. And acceptance in ignorance is a nullity. Okay, I have written that it is not valid acceptance because an acceptance in ignorance of the offer is not a valid acceptance. Case law Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat, and then we will explain the case law because the question is based directly on the case law. So see, without writing the entire answer, I was able to frame the entire answer, and then when I compared it with the model answer, I had included all the points. If I would have missed a point, I would have written that in red, just as a reminder that I missed this point. Next, what will you write in the facts of the case? You will just explain the facts briefly that we sent the person in search of the missing nephew. You will explain this fact that X's brother was missing. So Y went in search of the missing brother. Then X declares a reward which Y was not aware of. Okay? So can Y claim? You need not write that. He was not aware of. Okay. Then in analysis. Now what will you write over here in analysis? Since Y was unaware of the offer of the reward, if he is not aware of the reward, he cannot be said to have accepted it. His act, when he found the brother, was he aware of the offer? No. So he was not aware of the offer when he found the brother. Finding the brother is like acceptance of the offer. Actually, here there is no offer acceptance. Here you are only following the instructions of the master. So over here he was unaware of the offer. He could not claim it as acceptance. It is a nullity. It does not create any legal right. Did you notice that this is a repetition of what is written in the provisions? It's just a repetition. So he is unaware of the offer. He could not be said to have accepted it. And acceptance in ignorance is nullity. So over here you will say that because he is unaware of the offer, he is not said to have accepted the offer. It is not valid acceptance. Therefore, there is no valid contract for reward. Okay. So there is, what is the meaning of this? It does not create any legal right. There is no contract for reward. Because there is no contract for reward, you cannot. Therefore, Y cannot claim the reward. Because there is no contract, you cannot enforce it. You cannot claim the reward. Now, what was asked? Can Y claim the reward? This was asked in the end. This is what I have answered in conclusion. Y cannot claim the reward because he was not aware of the offer. Based on the above provisions, we conclude that Y cannot claim the reward. So see, this is how you will frame the answer. Now, the aim of these sessions is writing practice. You should write in practice. So how will you do that? Now you know how to frame the answer. See, first, learn how to write. Then start writing. No? Don't just say, now today I want to write and practice. Arey bhai, first learn how to write and practice. Then you do that. So today we learned how to frame the answer. Yes. Now you do one thing. You choose these questions. Just go through the question. Write it on your own. Compare it with the model answer. Okay. Another question that I have selected is question 15. Mr. Asim is a learned advocate. His car was stolen. He gave an advertisement in the newspaper that he will give a reward of 10,000 to whoever gives information about his car. He has given an advertisement in the newspaper that I will give reward. Now Vikram reads the advertisement. On making some effort, he got the stolen car. He informed Mr. Asim. Mr. Asim found his car, but he denied giving the reward. He says that advertisement in the newspaper is just an invitation to offer. It's not an offer at all. He's not liable to make the reward. State with reasons whether Vikram can receive the reward. Please highlight this as very important. Go through this one day before the exam. We go through this one day before the exam. Alright? Okay. Now, you tell me, giving an advertisement in the newspaper announcing the reward, is it invitation to offer? This is a general offer. Okay, giving an advertisement in the newspaper is not invitation to offer. It's a general offer. General offer. It can be accepted by anyone having knowledge of the offer, knowing about the offer. See, you can accept only when you know about the offer. Having knowledge of the offer. So in this case, Mr. Vikram reads the advertisement. See, reading the advertisement shows that he had knowledge of the offer. He found it. His action. Okay. He got the stolen car. His actions shows acceptance. So what is a general offer? It is an offer which is made to the public in general. It can be accepted by anyone who has knowledge of the offer. You can also say it can be accepted by anyone who accepts the offer by complying with the conditions. He comes forward and acts accordingly. So general offer will be explained over here. So I will explain general offer, everything related to general offer. Then I will also write that it can be accepted by anyone who, having knowledge, fulfills the terms of the offer, or he comes forward, performs the conditions that were required. It can be accepted by anyone who has knowledge of the offer. The action of finding the car shows acceptance. Once it is accepted, it becomes a contract. Because it is a contract, it can be legally enforced. Okay, it can be legally enforced. So in this case, Mr. Vikram can claim the reward. So I have already framed my answer while reading the question itself. So what will you write in the provisions part? In provisions, you will first explain the meaning of general offer. You will write everything about general offer. General offer means an offer which is made to the public in general. It can be accepted by anyone who has knowledge of the offer. It can be accepted by anyone. How will a person show his acceptance? By accepting it according to the terms of the offer, by coming forward and acting accordingly. Then you will also say that his action shows acceptance because he came forward and he acted accordingly. He found the car, that is acceptance. Now this will make a contract, and because it is a contract, it can be enforced. So over here, no need to write that he will get the reward. That we will write in analysis. It can be enforced. So this is what you will write in provisions. Now let us check if our answer is matching with the model answer, and let's also highlight something that we have missed. So invitation, because it was invitation, you can also explain what is invitation to offer and how is it different from offer. So explain invitation to offer and how is it different from offer. So invitation to offer is different from offer. All right. Menu card, price tags, etc. They are merely invitation to the offer. Invitation comes before. It is preceded, means it comes before an offer. Acceptance does not result into acceptance. It is only that the other person is giving the offer. It is actually the other person. It results as a negotiation. Advertisement is made for reward. It is a general offer to the public. So over here, they have first explained what is the difference between offer and invitation to offer. Then they have also said that advertisement is just an offer. It's a general offer. Then they have explained what is general offer. The general offer is an offer which is made to the public in general. It can be accepted by anyone who fulfills the terms of the offer. He comes forward and acts accordingly. It is made by the person who has knowledge of the offer. He comes forward and acts accordingly. So over here, we have covered everything relating to provisions. Although you can elaborate in the exam. Then what Mr. Asim has given is a general offer. Mr. Vikram reads the advertisement. He found the car. This shows that he is aware. It means he had knowledge of the offer. His act of finding the car is acceptance. See, I wrote that. He got the stolen car. His act or action shows acceptance. I have covered this point. See, every word is actually giving you a hint. It is leading you to the answer. So see, I did not do anything. I just converted these words into my answer. This is how you should frame your answer. I have trained you in the same manner in the compiler question discussion. I will leave a link of that. You can buy it along with the compiler, and this is how we generally discuss in our regular lectures also. This is my answer. Okay. Let us discuss Unit 2. Now, as I informed you earlier, I am going to discuss Unit 1 and 2 right now. Then I want to give you some time to prepare on your own. And in my next session, it will be 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. I will upload both the videos because now you know how to practice. Here I have selected 3 questions again. These are the questions which are important for exam. Unit 2 consideration is important. In fact, each and every question is important for exam. And Unit 2, you have to learn by heart. You have to learn the entire Unit 2 because it is asked as theory question. So Unit 2 is important. All the concepts are important for exam. Mr. Sohan Lal sold 10 acres. Now, if you want, you can pause the video. You can read this on your own. Try to frame the answer. Okay, now, how to use these lectures. Pause the video. Okay, pause the video. You read it on your own. Frame the answer on your own. And then you discuss it with me. In my regular lectures also, I tell my students, first solve all the compiler questions on your own. Then you watch the compiler question discussion. Okay. So Mr. Sohan Lal, he is the seller. He sold 10 acres of agricultural land to Mohan Lal. Mohan Lal is the buyer. On 25th of September. The papers mentioned a condition. This condition means it is a covenant. That whoever purchases the land is free to use 9 acres as per his choice, but the remaining 1 acre will be allowed to be used by Chote Lal, the son of the seller. So this is a covenant which is attached to how the land is to be used. The covenant was entered between Sohan Lal and maybe the person who must have created that covenant. Now, when he sold it to Mohan Lal, you should immediately recall that covenants, they are binding not only upon the current owner, but also future owner. See, while reading the question itself, I am framing the answer. The first thing that I will explain in my provision is that it is a covenant. Second point which I will write, that the covenant is binding not only upon the current owner but also future owner. And then I will also include few more points of covenant. Covenants, they are conditions attached to the use of the land. These are covenants with the land, how the land is to be used. Covenants, they are binding not only upon the current but also the future owners. Now, Sohan Lal died, okay, leaving behind his son, okay. Chote Lal is actually a stranger to contract. See, we had discussed this when we were studying stranger to contract. Chote Lal is actually a stranger to contract between Sohan Lal and Mohan Lal. They had agreed upon, we are bound by the covenant. Okay, it is binding not only upon the current but also future owners. Chote Lal is actually a stranger to contract. But because the land has some covenants, even though Chote Lal was not a party to that, he did not create the covenant, but he is entitled to file a case. The purchaser started the construction and he denied any land to the son. Now Chote Lal wants to file a case. Although he was not a party to the covenant, but he can enforce the covenant even though he is a stranger to contract. It's an exception. So according to the privity of contract, why they have mentioned privity of contract? Because the concept of stranger to contract is mentioned here, right? So according to privity of contract, when two persons enter into an agreement, only they have the right to file a case. Stranger ideally cannot. The stranger cannot ideally sue. However, there are certain exceptions. Under those exceptional cases, stranger can sue. One of the exceptions is covenant running with land. So they wrote something about stranger to contract. That ideally stranger to contract cannot sue. But there are certain exceptions. Under these exceptional cases, stranger can sue. One of the exceptions is covenant running with land. Although the person purchased the land is without with the notice that he is bound, that the covenant affecting the land may be enforced by the successor of the seller. So can I say, in other words, in simple words, It is binding upon the current as well as future owners. Even though we did not create the covenant, but we are still bound by the covenant. So we are going to explain everything about covenant. Covenants, they are conditions which are binding not only upon the current, but also future owners. They run with the land, although the new owner has not entered into the covenant accepting the covenant, but he's still bound to follow or abide. Now, this you can write in the provisions part. Okay, you can write this in the provisions also, then you need not write this in analysis. The contract creating the covenant is between Mr. Sohanlal and Mohanlal. After his death, his land was succeeded by Chote Lal. Okay, so even though Chote Lal, so here we have written that Chote Lal was a stranger to contract. Even though he's a stranger to contract between the father and Mohanlal, the exception will entitle him to file a. Now it was succeeded, so now he became the owner of the land. So in this case, although he never created the covenant, but if Mohanlal is not abiding by the covenant, he can take action. See, the covenant was actually between his father and Mohanlal. He was actually a stranger, but because the land is now succeeded, so even though he's a stranger, the covenant is binding not only upon the current but also the future owners. You can call him also as the current owner, but it is also binding on the future owners. Chote Lal can take action. So he is advised to enforce his right. Now, how do we know what is to be written in conclusion? Discuss and decide upon the Chote Lal's plan of action. So you have to suggest. You have to suggest what action can be taken by Chote Lal. So in this case, he is advised. We are suggesting. He is advised to enforce his rights, as the covenants are enforced not only by the current but also through. Okay? This is the answer. Next, I have selected question 9. You can pause the video, read the question. You pause the video, read the question, frame your own answer, then discuss it with. Do that. Do it. Done. Okay. So, Ramlal Birla was a very big businessman. He was having 2 sons, 1 married daughter. He decided to give his house to the daughter. He called his lawyer. He made a written agreement. Okay, so it is in writing. Lawyer said, you get it registered. Okay. So they were both going. Now, there are a few points which we can write because it is his daughter. This is transfer based on natural love and affection. So do you remember you had studied in section 25? Based on contracts, based on natural love and affection, section 25. What were the requirements? Tell me. The agreement must be in writing. It must be registered. It must be based on natural love and affection. It must be between people standing in near relation. So it is in writing. It is based on natural love and affection, and it is between persons standing in near relation. But while they were going to get it registered, they met with an accident. Both of them died. Later, the daughter found that the lawyer and the father, they were going to register, but they could not. Now she's claiming the house on the basis of that document that father wanted to get it registered. Other provisions are present. Explain whether she can get the house as gift. Okay, whether she can get the house as gift. Ma'am, should we answer this question as per gift? No. Through practice, you will realize that this is based on natural love and affection. Okay, so what will you write? That all the requirements which are mentioned over here, they are cumulative requirements. Cumulative means they all must be complied together. Okay, they are all cumulative requirements. Even if one is missing, this will not be a valid contract. See, here the father was gifting the house to his daughter. He did not get any consideration. But it's an exception only when all the conditions are satisfied. So what will you write in the provisions part? You will explain section 25. Okay, then you will explain all the 4 requirements. In analysis, you will write that all have to be present cumulatively. Even if one is missing, this will not be a valid exception. So here, it is valid. Even if it's without consideration, is valid if it is in writing. It is registered based on natural love and affection between persons standing in near relation. So here, it was natural love and affection. There was near relation. It was in writing, but it was not registered. The transfer is not enforceable. Daughter cannot get the house as gift. See, this was asked whether the daughter can get the house as gift. So in conclusion, what we have written, daughter cannot get the house as. So students, these were few questions which I had identified from units 1 and 2 of Contract Act. Now you, for tomorrow's session, you be prepared for unit 3 and 4, 5 and 6, because I'm going to upload 2 videos in my next, that is tomorrow. So be ready with these units so that you can revise, and I will give you the most important concepts for exam. Did you understand? Now, this book can be purchased from my website, capreetyagarwal.com. There is a combo available where this book along with the explanation, each and every question is discussed. That combo is also available. Don't worry, soft copy of this book can be availed, because I know it's an exam season, but students who are attempting in September, for you, this book is very useful. Go for hard copy. Don't go for soft copy. Hard copy also comes with discussion. All right. So stay tuned for more videos, more revision sessions. And if you have not yet subscribed, then subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also find me on social media, Instagram. Stay in touch. Ask your doubt. My number is given on my website. Please feel free to connect with me for any doubt. For tomorrow's session, be ready with unit 3, 4, 5 and 6 of Contract Act. I will see you tomorrow.